can't tell if it's a good or a bad thing that I have so many more anticipated releases this year than I did last year, or the year before that, or the year before that. Hi everyone, I'm Emma, aka Chaotic Book Gremlin, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my most anticipated releases of 2025. As of right now, there are 12 of them, stretching from January to September, and that is not including anything that could be potentially coming out later in the year, like October, November, December. I do have more than 12 books that I'm looking forward to coming out in 2025, but what makes my most anticipated release, these 12 books, stand out from these ones, are that these are ones that I need to buy immediately. They need to be pre-orders. They're going to be pre-orders, or I'm going to go to the bookstore on release day and make a whole thing about that. I love filming in bookstores. It's so much fun. I've been filming for about 20 seconds and have already gotten a little bit off track, so let's go back to what we're really here for, which is anticipated releases. Maybe we'll keep track of how often my brain wanders during this. These 12 books will be listed by publication order and not by my own personal excitement about this book coming out, although if they're in my top anticipated releases, then obviously I'm pretty fucking excited that they're coming out. And just because a book is on my most anticipated releases list doesn't mean I'm going to be reading it right away. Obviously, if I'm more excited about a book, I'm more likely to read it sooner. But there are some books that have been on my most anticipated releases lists in the past that I still haven't read yet. It's fine. I keep track of which of these releases I actually read to see how much of a disappointment I am at the end of the year. Anyways, the way this is going to work is I'm going to tell you the book, the release date, a brief synopsis about what the book may or may not be about, because I read these descriptions only once, so I'm going purely based off of what I remember from the one time I read the synopsis on Goodreads, and then I'll probably be giving my own personal anecdotes on my thoughts on the book. This is going to be so much fun. Let's do it. Starting us off right away with one of my top 5 most anticipated releases of the year on January 7th is Immortal by Sue Lynn Tan. This is the same author who wrote the Celestial Kingdom duology, which is Daughter of the Moon Goddess and Heart of the Sun Warrior, which is one of my favorite series of all time. Daughter of the Moon Goddess is my 3rd favorite book ever. I fucking love this series so much. So naturally, I'm very excited about this book. So essentially, this book is a standalone romantic fantasy about Lian, who is the heir of Tianxia, and her goal to kind of end her kingdom's servitude to the Immortals. She does this by commanding the god of war, who is mistrustful, ruthless, and probably not the best person to be working with. But naturally, because this is a romance, they become drawn closer and closer together, and there's a mutual attraction that sparks between them that could potentially risk everything Lian is working towards. The quote that starts off the description is, "What the gods would not give us, I would take." And I am so excited for this book. I'm also not sure what day I'm going to be posting this, so the book could already potentially be out by the time I actually post this, but it's coming out the day after my birthday, so I'm going to buy it, and I'm going to consider it a belated birthday gift for myself, because I fucking deserve it. I'm so excited for this book. It's going to be so delightful. Speaking of delightful romances, on February 4th, Deep End by Ali Hazelwood comes out, which from what I know is a college sports romance between a competitive diver and then this really prodigy dude swimmer guy. That was an English sentence. So essentially, our main character Scarlett is a junior at Stanford and also a student athlete, and all she wants to do is 1, get into med school, and 2, recover from an injury that almost destroyed her athletic career. And obviously this means that she has no time for relationships. I think we all can see where this is going. And then Lucas is an extremely disciplined swim captain who has nothing in common with Scarlett until a well-guarded secret slips out. And things obviously change because of that. So naturally, they start a relationship as the pressure towards the Olympics begins to slip up, and then they start to form feelings for one another in what was supposed to be a temporary relationship. Yes, temporary, don't worry, we all believe you. I also remember that the description was riddled with swim puns, and it made me so happy. I love puns. On February 18th, Cursebound by Saara El-Arifi comes out, which is the sequel to Fable, but with more war and more gay. So if you don't know, Fable is about 2 elven sisters who are imprisoned in the fairy realm, and they thought the fairies were extinct. They thought the elves were the only species left on Earth, and I especially love this because I love a book where humans did exist, but they're not the main species of the book, because they are actually extinct now. Although we also thought that about the fairies, and they just kind of were everywhere in book 1. So in this book, our main characters, Irene and Lettel, who are the sisters, find themselves torn between love and duty as the war between Fae and elves begins to heat up. Because obviously the Fae hate the elves for imprisoning them, and the elves hate the Fae for fucking attacking them and all that stuff. But then Irina's an elf and she's in love with a fairy, so it's probably going to complicate things a lot. I need to reread the first book actually, because I do not remember much about it, and I just read it in May. I am sometimes concerned about how bad my memory can be. On March 4th, Fable for the End of the World by Ava Reid comes out, which is a standalone dystopian romance described as The Last of Us meets The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Ava Reid has explicitly said that this book stemmed from Hunger Games fanfiction, so we know it's going to be very similar. So this book features a sapphic enemies to lovers romance in a world where a single corporation called Saris or Kairos or whatever controls everything. And they do this by encouraging debt among their citizens and then having them pay off this debt by essentially enlisting their children into this kind of like assassination spectacle thing, which is, you know, very deadly and exactly what happens to Ineza when her mother accrues a very, very large debt and then kind of like enlists Ineza in the assassination spectacle thing. Meanwhile, Melano is a Kairos assassin who has been trained to hunt and kill the enlisted teenagers in the spectacle and is essentially the product of neural reconditioning and has been made into a living weapon. And as Mel pursues Ineza across the wastelands, they begin to question everything and also begin to question if they are indeed falling in love. Aww. I don't really like YA dystopia books. Like, I love YA dystopia movies. I don't know what that is, but like, I don't like the Hunger Games books. I don't like the Maze Runner. I don't love Divergent, but I love the movies, except for like the last two Divergent movies. I hate those. But if anyone can make me love a YA dystopia book, I think it's going to be Ava Reid because this sounds fucking awesome. And then on April 15th, The Ashfire King comes out, which is the sequel to The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah, which was one of my favorite books of 2024. I fucking loved this book. The Stardust Thief is essentially a retelling of the Arabian Nights where our group of main characters kind of travels across the treacherous desert to find a magical land that's hidden, very hidden in the desert, with like, you know, a lot of political dissent and turmoil and political intrigue. And the sequel ramps us up even more with even more political dissent and even more turmoil and even more intrigue, and also the rekindling of a centuries-old war to make things more complicated. On April 29th, The Floating World by Axie comes out, which is the first and I think only book on this list that is by an author that I haven't read anything from previously. Axie also wrote The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, which I have not read, but I have friends who read it and have absolutely loved it, so I do really need to get to it. Anyways, this book is described as Final Fantasy meets Shadow in the Bone with a touch of Castle in the Sky, and is also a reimagining of the Korean legend of the Celestial Maidens. So essentially, Sunho is an ex-soldier who wakes up with only his name and his sword and takes a job as a mercenary hunting a girl who can summon light. Meanwhile, Ren, who's a cheerful, sunshiny acrobat, unleashes a power that she suppressed her entire life when her village is attacked by a demon shadowy creature thing. Obviously, it's the power to summon light. Unlike Alina Starkov from Shadow and Bone, she does know that she has this power and she's just been suppressing it her entire life. She's been hiding it because like she knows it will make her a target. Unfortunately, her uncle is poisoned in the attack and, you know, she wants to save him. She loves her uncle. Like, why wouldn't she want to save him? She sets out on a quest to find an antidote to his poisoned wound that involves traveling into the mountains where the creature has come from, and she collides with Sunho, who you know is hunting her. But he doesn't know that she's the one he's looking for. He's just like, oh, look, here's this random girl that I met in the mountains, and she's actually kind of pretty, so like maybe we should help each other. We love a good secret identity thing, although I don't even know if this could classify a secret identity because I don't know if she knows that he's hunting her. This is gonna be so much fun either way. On June 3rd, Cruel Mercies by Maren comes out, which is essentially like vengeful lesbians with a heavy fuck the patriarchy mindset. Hell yeah. Essentially, when she was 9 years old, Princess Vita witnesses the execution of her mother by her father's hand, and so she is sent into exile with only the crows who kind of like tap at her window to keep her company. 11 years later, she's married off to an army general, which opens the path to the throne for him, and then she meets Celine, who's a lady in waiting, who introduces her to alchemy. If they learn to control the alchemic magic, and the heat between them, they could burn the world of men down to the ground. Fuck yeah, give me all of the political intrigue and scheming, please. And then on June 10th, my most anticipated release of the year comes out with Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. I cannot express how excited I am about this book. V.E. Schwab has said multiple times that this was kind of like written with the same mindset that she wrote Addie LaRue in, and Addie LaRue is one of my favorite books of all time. It's my second favorite book of all time after Number in the Ashes, but I've learned at this point that I will never have a new number one favorite book after that series. So like, V. Schwab's also been pitching this for months as toxic lesbian vampires that is also somehow kind of inspired by Florence and the Machine. I think that's kind of all I need to know. And it's also kind of all I do know about it for the moment. So let me read to you the description that's on Goodreads. Santo Domingo de la Caldeza, 1532. London, 1837. Boston, 2019. 3 young women, their bodies planted in the same soil, their stories tangling like roots. One grows high, one grows deep, and one grows wild, and all of them grow teeth. Fuck yeah. Then about a month later, on July 8th, Red Tempest Brother by H.M. Long comes out. This is the third and final book in the Winter Sea trilogy, which already consists of Darkwater Daughter and Black Tide Sun. I love these books. It's just like a fun pirate adventure that takes place on a cold, wintry sea. I love these books so much. From what I know, this takes place right after the end of Black Tide Sun, as Sam, Mary, and Benedict play a deadly game of war and espionage on the high seas. Heck yeah. I'm also so excited that Benedict is becoming a main POV character in this book. I love him, and I really want more chapters from his perspective because he's so interesting. And then on August 5th, my second most anticipated release of the year comes out, which is A Theory of Dreaming by Reid, which is the sequel to A Study in Drowning, which is one of my top 5 favorite books ever. I fucking love this book. So from what I know, A Theory of Dreaming is kind of like dealing with the aftermath of what happens in A Study of Drowning. Effie is dealing with being the first and only woman in history to enroll at the Literature College, and she's also dealing with the loss of using fantasy as escapism following the events at the end of A Study in Drowning. Meanwhile, our darling Preston begins to have dreams about a palace under the sea where he is king, and then those dreams start to follow him into the waking world. So we kind of like have like a reversal of roles here, where Effie is being more immersed in the real and Preston is falling more into like fantasy fiction kind of thing. And also at the same time, the war between Lyra and Argent kind of explodes, and the two of them are of course caught in the crossfire because they can't catch a fucking break. I'm so excited for this book. I love A Study in Drowning so much. And then August 28th, which I believe is my third most anticipated release of the year, is Katabasis by RF Kuang. Katabasis. I don't know how you're supposed to say it. Someone can yell at me in the comments. Anyways, this is a dark academia fantasy that's described as Dante's Inferno meets Susanna Clarke's Piranesi, where two rival students journey to hell to save their professor's soul, maybe at the cost of their own. So essentially, Alice wants to become one of the brightest minds in the field of magic and has sacrificed everything to achieve her goal of working with Professor Jacob Grimes at Cambridge. And he's like the greatest magician in the world until, you know, he dies in an accident that may or may not be Alice's fault. I think it's also important to mention that she does not like him, but she needs him, you know, for her career. Obviously, she does the only rational thing and follows him down to hell to go get him back. Unfortunately, her academic rival, Peter, has the same thought. So they set across hell to save a man that they don't even like. The end. I'm so excited to be getting a romance from RF Kuang. I'm still so mad about the Dragon Republic. I need to reread the Poppy War. Katabasis is also my friend's most anticipated release of the year, so I'm hoping we're doing a buddy read together. Harm, if you're seeing this, clear your schedule for like the end of August, start of September, because we're going to be buddy reading this. I'm making an executive decision. And finally, on September 16th, Among the Burning Flowers by Samantha Shannon comes out. This is a prequel novella, I think it's technically a novella, to The Priory of the Orange Tree that kind of is like about like the fall of Yaskelin to the Draconic army. Among the Burning Flowers sees the first sparks of danger that erupt in Priory of the Orange Tree. So we have at least 3 main POV characters in this book, some of which actually appear in Priory of the Orange Tree. So essentially, Marosa Vitalda is essentially a prisoner being controlled by her father, the King of Yaskelin. Over the mountains, her betrothed Albrecht Lively rules Mentendon in all but name, and then Stida Malago is hunting the sleeping draconic beasts across the world. But now, you know, the Great War in Fyredale is stirring, and Yaskelin is going to be the first to fall, as we all know. Fucking Fyredale is always the first one to cause problems in all these books. The book will only be around 200 pages long, so obviously it's much shorter than Priory of the Orange Tree in A Day of Fall and Night, and it's essentially just meant to kind of tide us over until the next full-length novel of the Roots of Chaos series comes out. So those are my 12 most anticipated releases of 2025. I am so excited for all of them. I will try to maybe hopefully do reviews of most of them if I can and if I get to them. So I guess that's all for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe and do all that YouTube-y stuff. If you want to see more of me for some reason, my Instagram and TikTok are under the same username. The links are also in my bio, and I will see you later, I guess.